This is the key to worksheet section 2.2 part 1. So the direction says determine the intervals, if any, where the function is increasing, decreasing, or constant, and state nowhere if there are no intervals. Also indicate the relative max or min. Okay, so remember, for increasing, decreasing, constant, we're going to read a graph from left to right. Same thing for domain, from left to right, and the range will be from bottom up along the y-axis. But for increasing, decreasing, and constant, remember, we're looking at open intervals. So all these intervals will have parentheses. Okay, so as I go from left to right along the x-axis, remember, we're looking at your domain. So what you're going to put up here are going to be numbers from your domain that make the function increase, decrease, or constant. All right, so as you go from left to right, you trace along your along your graph. So as I go along my graph, notice your y values. These y values of these points, they're increasing. They're increasing. And all of a sudden, at this point right here, they're decreasing. My y values are decreasing, so my function f of x is decreasing. And then right here, at some point, they start increasing again. F of x is increasing. Okay? So basically what's happening is that over here from here to here, if you need to label where the change is, then do that. Some students prefer to do that. So notice that it's increasing and then it's decreasing, and then it changes here, okay, when x is -2. That's when it changes. Then all of a sudden it's decreasing and then it's increasing, and it changes here when x is 2. Alright, so this -2 and this 2 is going to be important in our answer. Okay, so it's increasing from -infinity to this x value, which is -2. So you're going to write it like this: -infinity to -2 parentheses. Okay, so remember, we're talking about open intervals here. So when you talk about domain and range, you're talking about when you talk about increasing, decreasing, or constant, you're talking about open intervals. And then from -2 to 2, my function f of x, meaning the y values, are decreasing. Okay, so from -2 to 2. And then also notice that from 2 to infinity, see this arrow keeps on going. Okay, so from 2 to infinity, at this point you get a y value. At this point you get a y value. Okay, so from 2 to infinity, your y values are increasing here. So you're going to say union 2 to infinity. And notice nowhere in this graph is your function constant, so you're going to say nowhere. Alright, now here it says this: at y value of x, so they're looking at the x value, is a relative min and then a relative max. Okay, so remember that where the function goes from increase to decrease, this is called a relative max. Okay, and it helps if you label that point. So that point is -2, 16. It does help to label it. And then over here, when it goes from decrease to increase, this is called a relative min. And again, it helps to label that point. So that point here is 2, -16. It does help to answer these questions. Okay, so at what value of x is y a relative maximum? Well, the relative maximum, so that's here. So they want to know, what is this x value? That x value is a -2. Then they want to know, what is that relative minimum? So they're looking for that y value. So what is that y value? What is that relative maximum y value? Well, that relative maximum is 16. So 16 goes here. Okay, so then they want to know, where's their relative minimum? Well, here's where you have relative minimum. That x value is 2. And the relative minimum is -16. Okay? Alright, now over here, so again you have arrows again on both ends. So as you go along the x-axis, notice what's happening. Your y values are increasing, so f of x is increasing, then it's decreasing, then it's constant, then it's increasing, and then it's decreasing. Okay? So as you go from along your x-axis, so starting from -infinity to x equal -2. Again, it helps if you denote that. So it's increasing. So it's increasing here. Okay. Then it's decreasing from -2 to -1. And then it's constant from -1 to 2. And then it increases from 2 to 4. And then it's decreasing from 2 to infinity. Okay? I'm sorry, 4 to infinity, from 4 to infinity. All right, so where's it increasing? Well, it's increasing here and here. So there are two places where it's increasing, two open intervals where it's increasing. So it's increasing from -infinity to -2. So -infinity to -2. Union, and it's also increasing from 2 to 4. So from x equal 2 to x equal 4, your y values are increasing. So 2 to 4. It's decreasing in two places, two intervals. So from -2 to -1, your y values are decreasing. So -2 to -1, union. And then from 4 to infinity, your y values are decreasing. So from 4 to infinity. Where's it constant? Well, it's constant from -1 to 2. So from -1 to 2, your function is constant. Those y values are the same. Okay, now remember, you get a relative max when you get a relative max when you go from increasing to decreasing. And you get a relative min when you go from decreasing to increasing. Okay, so here, you see where you went from increase to decrease? So that's going to be a relative max. Then you went from increase to decrease here, so here's another relative max. All right, now, remember you get relative min when you go from decreasing to increasing. Now notice here, you're going from decreasing to constant. All right, so that's not a relative, that point right here is not a relative min. You have to go from decreasing to increasing. All right, same thing here. That's not a relative min. You're going from constant to increasing. You have to be going from decreasing to increasing. Okay, so at what values of x do we have a relative min? So there are two places. Okay, and again, it helps again if you label these. So that's -2, 2, and this is 4. Let's see, I think that's a 3, 4, 3. Okay, so at two places, -2, comma 4, and the y values. When they ask about relative maximum, they're talking about the y values. So my y values are 2 and 3. 2 and 3. Okay, where's their relative minimum? Nowhere. Okay, nowhere in both cases. Alright, so nowhere. Okay, so that's the end to the key to worksheet 2.2 part 1.